welcome to Week and Geek, your new comics preview for December 5th. I'm Mike Ortiz.
I'm the Chris Brown.
What do you got?
I'm going to lead off here with The Legend of Luther Strode, number 1 of 6 by Image Comics. This is a second miniseries. Right. This is a follow-up to that first series that they did in which a young kid, a high school kid, kind of gets one of those Charles Atlas books, but it's actually an alien book by an alien librarian that unlocks secret powers. By the end of it, the thing is just brutal and evil. Like, I mean, it gets nasty. He's fighting all kinds of crazy people. First he gets a girlfriend, everything's good. Now this one, it's 5 years later, and he's almost like a boogeyman to drug dealers and pimps and things of that nature, and they're kind of talking about him like, oh no, it's just a legend, it's just a legend. And the first issue, there's like, you know, it's a lot of filler, but that last page is like, oh boy, all right. That's how it ties back into the first one, and pretty cool. Like, I really liked this book. Reading through it, I was like, okay, this is different than the first one. It's violent, just as violent, but they tied it right back together with that last page, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm curious where it's going. Then I'm looking at The Pound, number 4, part 4 of 4. This is the last part of Ghoul's Night Out. I've liked this. This has sort of filled the void that's been left in my heart since Proof left. I got a little Proof in here. I got people chasing monsters. You know, it's kind of fun stuff. It's like a lot of the things that I'm reading. I mean, it fits right in with the hoax hunters and Proof and all of this. Really, really fun stuff. If you like that sort of, if you like finding Bigfoot and you like hoax hunters and you like Proof, you should be reading The Pound. It's over now. Go back, pick those up. Then I'm looking at Invincible number 98. We're getting somewhere.
Closing in.
You know, we're closing in on that 100th issue in which someone's going to get killed.
2 Invincibles.
Yeah, yep. So looks like I'm about an issue behind again. Yeah. I finished up the last arc, and then now I'm behind again.
I'm way behind on it, but I'll catch up.
Love this book. Looks like a lot is going on. Yeah. And again, closing in on 100, in which they've already told us someone's going to die. Yeah. I guess that's comic books.
Yeah.
Someone always has to die to make a landmark, and I guess, you know, when Kirkman does stuff, he does stuff for a reason, especially in this book. I was a little upset with the way he handled, you know, Walking Dead 100. But it was a good issue, but that death came out of nowhere for no reason. Didn't he make a joke
that in Invincible 100 everybody dies?
I'll get their heads bashed in with a barbed wire baseball bat. Then I'm looking at Great Pacific number 2. This is also from Image Comics. This is Joe Harris, written by Joe Harris, art by Martin Morazzo. Cool stuff. Kind of just basically a rich kid whose family started this huge corporation has decided to fight against it. And it kind of reminds me, there was a film made recently called Thrive by one of the great-grandsons of Gamble, the Gamble family. And he's kind of got a lot to say. And it sort of reminds me of this Great Pacific a little bit, because it's this kid kind of railing against what's happening. And I guess the interesting sci-fi part is, because it's in the future and, you know, all of our trash and garbage just forms out into these piles in the ocean, he's decided to declare this giant garbage mound New Texas. And it's an interesting book, though. I really like it. Great Pacific number 2. Definitely check that one out. Dial H number 7. This has been a weird book. It's been a fun, weird horror book. It is different from the Dial H's that preceded it, but I dig it. You know, it looks like, but I think I'm about an issue behind. That would have closed up the last arc, so we're probably starting a new arc here. There's more heroes everywhere. You know, obviously there were more dials and more things going on. So check that one out as well. Dial H has been cool. If you like the stuff that preceded it, you'll probably still like this. If you've never read it, you don't need to. Then we've got Detective Comics, number 15. This is finally tying into the death of the family here. This should be good. So far, I've liked the issues that John Layman has done. This one gets the fancy Joker face treatment. So everyone's probably going to be going nuts for that. But, yeah, it's cool. I think John Layman's been doing a good job. I think it's a little unfortunate that he's been thrown into an event in his third issue in. You know, maybe they should have taken care of that before they, you know, get your new series writer in there. He's going to do a great job. I'm sure he's going to do fine. Really, really talented guy. Then I've got The Adventures of Augusta Wynn, number 2. This is by James DeMatteis. This is, as I mentioned before, filling the void of Abadazad for me. This is essentially an older sister kind of telling her, you know, siblings, or maybe she was like the babysitter, but she's telling these kids this story, and she makes herself the main character. And they're like, but we know you didn't do those things. And then some things come in, well, maybe she did do those things. So it's kind of cool. It's got a really cool fantasy element, the way J.M. DeMatteis, you know, that's his wheelhouse. And the artwork looks great. It's kind of somewhere channeling Sam Keith a little bit, which I really like. Sam Keith. Yeah. So I dig that. Then I'm looking at Cyberforce number 2. You cannot beat the price. This is free.
Mm-hmm.
The issues 1 through 5, they raised that money on Kickstarter, and they're giving it away. Kind of a neat idea. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty popular. People have been digging it. So this has hit the stands. If you didn't, pick up your first issue. See if your retailer still has it. We still have more comics and more. So you can pick up the number 1 and pick up the number 2. And then, like I said, those are free.
Yeah.
They're like any good crack dealer. Your first hit's free. And once they got you hooked and you're all itchy, then it'll cost you.
Let's hope Cyberforce is as good as crack.
One can only hope. That's the bulk of my stack. What are you looking at there?
I'm going to start off with Earth 2 number 7. This is still James Robinson. Last issue, they wrapped up their first story arc against Solomon Grundy.
Cool.
But there still is not a team yet. I mean, this is not a JSA book. This is an Earth 2 book. So it's not about a Justice Society team. There is no team.
Oh, okay.
The Flash, Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, and the Atom basically teamed up to fight Grundy. Once Grundy is gone, the Atom actually is hunting for Hawkgirl because she was part of some secret government organization. Green Lantern basically said, I'm done here, and splits. So this issue looks like it's about a little bit more about Green Lantern dealing with kind of the loss that made him Green Lantern in the first place. Hawkgirl shows up to try and kind of get him to start teaming up with them while the government is on the hunt for them. And it looks like the Mr. Terrific, who had his own New 52 book that got sucked into this universe, is now, he's in Earth 2. He popped up.
Interesting.
Like the first issue or second issue somewhere in
yeah.
there. So yeah, the Mr. Terrific from the Justice Society series, the JSA series, is now on Earth 2, even though he's an Earth 1 character in the New 52. So we're going to see how that plays out. And Terry Sloan, who was the original Mr. Terrific back in the old days, in the old Earth 2, is actually the director of this government organization that kind of isn't on the up and up.
Okay.
So yeah,
cool.
this is not your daddy's Earth 2. This is a completely new beast. Next up, we've got Hawkeye, continuing the Matt Fraction book. Last issue there's a videotape. And that we joked last week about how nice and antiquated. They actually make an interesting point. Nowadays, it's actually much harder to copy a videotape than it is to copy any kind of a digital file. But there's a videotape that's got some incriminating evidence on Hawkeye out there.
Okay.
I think it's something like possibly an assassination that he pulled while he was working for S.H.I.E.L.D. And they don't want that out there because then that'll be proof that S.H.I.E.L.D. is assassinating people, which it's not supposed to do. So
you'd think if these guys were all high tech, they could just get one of those digital VCRs, like the digital record player.
Yeah.
Plug that baby into your Mac, and you're good to go.
Last issue there was a bidding war for it, and
Okay.
S.H.I.E.L.D. Posing as Madame Mask had the winning bid. So this continues that storyline. We'll find out if the tape really does have incriminating evidence, if they're just trying to cover their butts. We don't really know, but this has been a really good book. Kind of a spy.
Different artist.
Different artist. This is Javier Pulido again. But really good stuff.
Yeah.
Really, really good stuff. Very different from the Hawkeye that you get in the movie and in the Avengers. It's really kind of a different vibe. Next up, we've got Deadpool number 3. This has been a lot of fun with Deadpool versus the Dead Presidents. Really, this has just been a great storyline. A rogue S.H.I.E.L.D. agent resurrects a bunch of dead presidents who are now basically zombies. Running around. They want to destroy the country and rebuild it to save it. We've got basically a zombie George Washington, zombie Richard Nixon, zombie Abe Lincoln. S.H.I.E.L.D. sent Deadpool to go get him, and Deadpool has not had a whole lot of luck because there's some magic going on. So in this issue, they recruit Doctor Strange.
Awesome.
When there's magic going down in the Marvel
Gotta
Universe,
have Doctor Strange.
Gotta have Doctor Strange. But this again is written by Brian Posehn and Jerry Dugan.
It's been fun stuff.
Funny stuff. I've never read a Deadpool book since like his original miniseries back in the 90s.
Me too.
I read him, when he's popped up in other books. He was pretty good in the X-Force stuff, the Uncanny X-Force. But really, this is a lot of fun. So if you've stayed away from Deadpool
Come back.
for a variety of reasons, give this one a shot. Next up, Amazing Spider-Man 699. Last issue was the big issue. I thought it was good. Certainly not.
It was good.
Break the internet in half. Good.
Right. It was decent storytelling, but all the hype they put on that book, it was sort of like No matter how good looking the girl is that you're setting your buddy up with on the blind date, if you overhype that, he's gonna be like, ah.
And I mean, I understand their desire to sell a lot of issues and to make sure that they don't sell through. But honestly, if we had not seen that coming, that would have been a hell of an issue.
Agreed.
This issue, and look, we get a little bit more information about how Doc Ock pulled this off. Really, where it starts, and it does reach all the way back to issue 600.
Right.
So this has been going on slowly over a course of time. We've got some of the other Spider-Man rogues breaking Doc Ock out of the facility that he's kept in the prison. But, we all know there's something up with Doc Ock. I'm not going to say what it is, just in case you're one of the 2 or 3 people who don't know what the big plot twist was.
Right.
But anyway, this is building towards issue 700. I think there's a 699.1 coming.
Right, which is going to be the launch off to Morbius, essentially.
And then issue 700, where there have already been previews of that online. And then all of that leads into Superior Spider-Man. So we'll see. We'll see if Slott had a nice trick up his sleeve.
Sure.
He oversold it. We'll see if there's any other tricks coming, but still, it was. I thought it was good. But yeah, if I had not known that there was something coming, that would have been great. Hell of a reveal.
Yes.
Next up, yet another all-new X-Men. This is there was one last week, a couple weeks before that, so that's like 3 issues in 4 weeks. But the basic premise: the X-Men from the past, the original team with the blue and gold costumes, has been brought into the future to try and smack some sense into Cyclops, who's now basically bordering on being Magneto.
Well, what I think is interesting is the twist for me is it's not just that the people from the past have been brought into the future. They've been brought into their future, but they've been brought into our present, which is their doomed future.
Yep.
It's something that I've never really... We've always been on the back end of that. Yeah. We've never been on the other end of it, and I think that's interesting.
We're the dystopian future.
Yes.
We're the days of future past. Yeah, really clever idea. I know that there's some time travel element in the X-Men First Class movie that I think is going to be picking up some of this stuff maybe. But yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see. We've got Cyclops in this, and this is the issue where they're going to confront Cyclops, where he has to face his own younger, more idealistic self. So really, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with these characters having to face their younger selves and kind of explain how everything went wrong. Plus, now Jean Grey knows that she's not going to be alive in this future. Wolverine gets a second chance at her. It's really a very, very character-driven book.
Yes, but that's what Bendis does.
Bendis is really good at that. So yeah, there's pages after pages of talking, but it's really interesting stuff that people are saying. So it's been a great book, and I really cannot oversell the Stuart Immonen artwork. He's a fantastic artist. For me, he is the only reason why I really did stick with Fear itself, because I think he's one of the best mainstream superhero artists now working. Next up, Action Comics number 15. Grant Morrison, I think next issue is his last issue. This one, basically, we're going to get some...
Mixtaplik in there?
We've got the New 52 Mixtaplik and the Superman Revenge Squad. Right. So we see the fifth dimensional imp, slightly different take.
He does look different. I generally like Mixtaplik though.
Yeah, those are some fun stories. It looks like there's some stuff here that even ties in with maybe some of the Alan Moore Mixtaplik stuff. But yeah, we've got Superman dealing with these fifth dimensional creatures, and the Superman Revenge Squad. I think one of them is also a fifth dimensional imp. So Grant Morrison saying his goodbye to Superman. They've been hinting at some of the stuff in here all the way back to Action Comics number 1 or 2. Next up, Daredevil End of Days number 3. This has really been great stuff.
Yeah.
I always liked Bendis' run on Daredevil. Basically, Daredevil died, supposedly,
right.
And his last word was Mapone, which nobody knows what that means, but Ben Urich, as a good reporter, is basically going through all the people who knew Daredevil, trying to figure out what happened to him, what brought him to that final end. It's a weird kind of Citizen Kane-ish vibe.
Turns out, actually, he was just afraid someone was going to find his porn and dying.
My pone! Somebody had my pone! Yeah, that would be a great ending. We've got great artwork by Klaus Janson and Bill Sienkiewicz doing the regular artwork, but it looks like we got some painted stuff by David Mack and some painted stuff by Bill Sienkiewicz. And this
I
is
love
really
some Cottage on Daredevil.
this is really the character that for me put Bendis on the map. I think he may have done. Was he doing Ultimate Spider-Man before that?
I think so, but
I'm
the
not
Daredevil stuff is what I think really
and this is a
broke
return
it
to
for
form.
me at least, because I had no interest in the Ultimate
And
Spider-Man.
Bendis is even on the cover. He's the bald cop on the front cover. But yeah, if you like Daredevil, if you like that era of Daredevil, the Frank Miller Daredevils, I love Ben Urich. I think he's a great character, and this is really all about him. I mean, this should be Ben Urich End of Daredevil would have been a better title. But this was great stuff, and I'm just glad to see these guys back on the book. Next up, a book I had forgotten about for a while, but this is Fury Max. This is the Garth Ennis Nick Fury book. This is a great book. The first story arc, it was in the 50s in Vietnam, before the U.S. was really involved. Then it jumped ahead to the Bay of Pigs, where he was, of course, involved in that. And now we're back to Vietnam, but if you take a look at that front cover, he meets up with the Marvel Max Frank Castle. So I don't know if this ties into the Punisher Max series at all. But yeah, Punisher or Frank Castle was in Vietnam, and now Nick Fury's in Vietnam with the future Punisher, and my guess is they're going to kill a bunch of people because that's what both of them do, and that's what Garth Ennis does.
Yep.
So that's my stack.
All right, that'll bring me to my top pick of the week here. I'm looking at Shadow Man #2 by Valiant Comics. I like the first issue. It's they're doing the decompressed storytelling, so it's a slower telling of the tale and how Jack Boniface gets to be Shadow Man. But I like it, and I like that it's Jack Boniface. I like that they're kind of giving him a past a little bit. We are going to get Master Dark in here eventually. That's obviously going on, and that looks like him right there. I don't know if that's supposed to be his sister trying to come through or what's going on, most likely. He calls her teacher, though. Looks like great stuff. I really like the artwork. I love this character. Really, really looking forward to seeing where this book goes. It's the weird voodoo magic kind of superhero angle in the Valiant universe. I think they're doing fun stuff with it. That's a great looking demon there. So yeah, Shadow Man, looking forward to it. I think all the Valiant stuff so far has been pretty solid.
Good stuff. My top pick is Avengers #1. This is Jonathan Hickman's first Avengers book with some fantastic art by Jerome Opeña. This is it. This is the beginning. This is the actual Avengers. We've had Uncanny Avengers, which is the Avengers and X-Men sort of combination. This is just the straight up Avengers. It looks like we've got Captain America, Captain Marvel, the Hulk, Wolverine. I'm sure Iron Man's in here too. There's quite a few. Some interesting choices of Avengers in here. The Falcon, a few people I don't recognize. So yeah, this is Jonathan Hickman after doing a fantastic job on the Fantastic Four. Now that Bendis is gone, he gets his shot at the Avengers, and I've been really looking forward to this.
Me too.
So this is kind of a big gun book. This is one of the big launches out of Marvel now. So hopefully it will be nearly as good as his Fantastic Four, if not better.
Yeah, hopefully he's got a goal in mind, and if he does, then I'm sure he'll reach it and be just fine with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure this is a very different book.
Oh, it'll have to be.
But that's good.
I'm sure it'll even be different from his Fantastic Four. But I'm sure it'll still be big in scope because that's just what he does.
And this is just great artwork.
The artwork looks beautiful. That Hulk is fantastic.
Jerome Opeña. I mean, I missed a lot of his stuff. His independent work. I never read Fear Agent, but he was absolutely fantastic on Uncanny X-Force, and this looks to be just as good, if not better. So, Avengers, no new Avengers, no Uncanny, just straight up old-fashioned Avengers. #1 by Jonathan Hickman.
Right on. So with that is your Week in Geek.